All right, guys, welcome to Aums Acre. We got a little food forest tour for you and a native plant preserve tour for you. So follow along with us. We're going to kind of walk down here. We're still on the street out in the front of the property, and we're going to kind of walk up to the property. But over here to the left is where everything starts. We haven't been able to clear out everything in this area, but we have started a little bit of the process, and we have some ferns that we planted down in here, along with some sensitive ferns and some ostrich ferns, as well as some Christmas ferns in the back. We have some Virginia bluebells back there as well, and we also have some golden Alexander right here as well.
Tell me about kind of the just overall general vision of the property.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're just trying to be a tad bit more sustainable. We're trying to, help our neck of the woods and create a little bit of an ecosystem that invites the local wildlife in, the deer, all the stuff that most people don't want around. We're inviting them in, and we're trying to create just a little preserve here. At the same time, we're creating a little bit of a food forest in the very infantile stages of that, because I'm still learning about it, but we're in the process of creating that as well. So the vision overall is kind of just to do our thing and give back to the small part of the world that we live in.
Cool. Well, show us what it looks like.
Okay, so now you saw the front part. We're going to go kind of up to the main part of the section. Most of what you see are native plant species, but not mostly native to Northeast, but they could be native to some other parts of the United States. Sometimes it's hard to find the right plant to put in the right spot, but over in this area we have some native grass, which is a bottle brush grass, and it's going to get about 3 to 4 feet in height. It gets a little bottle brush type of feather on the end, a very upright type of plant, and neighbor across the street donated these. We have a couple on the other side as well. Next up, we have followed by some Kodiaq Orange. This is a native honeysuckle. It's a native R, actually. It gets really bright orange foliage, and followed up by a really beautiful flower that the pollinators absolutely love. The flower, I believe with this orange, is going to be a yellow flower. Orange, this is our first season with. We have Kodiaq, actually this is our second season, but we haven't seen it flower yet. We've got some Kodiaq black up there and some Kodiaq red up there, so that's where the flowers are. We have the Coreopsis, the lanceolata, in full bloom right now over here. Mixed in is a lot of purple clover, little non-native that found its way in here, but it's hard to deny something that grows somewhere, so we're kind of letting it go.
How big's the property?
It's about an acre, maybe a little bit more than an acre. So when we first got here, it was just all dirt. There was nothing. Absolutely nothing. And we started with what I thought, because that's what I was into at the time, was just a lawn, the typical grass, and planted in the spring. It died in the summer, and decided that wasn't for us, and we kind of just stopped and took a look around and said that the lawn doesn't fit in here, and we started to create a little bit something different that kind of does fit in.
So what's the goal for this part?
This is a new section. We're taking the bottom section and we're extending that meadow upward. It's about 2,500 feet that we're adding on to the front meadow. And we just extended it just a little bit closer for two reasons. Number one, I just want it to be a little bit more dense. But number two, I wanted to try to get rid of more grass, because we don't have any need for the grass whatsoever. The clover are awesome, but so stuff has it's kind of started germinating a little bit. The tall stuff you can see is just a cover crop. It's some oats, and then a lot of the other stuff that's growing in here, I'm going to say, are just the weeds that are popping up from playing with the land a little bit. This didn't look like that last year when I did the one back there, so that's what I'm starting to gather. But
Gotcha.
that's what we're trying to do in that area. We've got the food forest, which we started over here to the left. Only got a few things planted so far. We have 2 apple trees, and then we got some berry bushes over there, and we're actually really just working on the soil for a year before we plant anything. So we threw down a lot of leaves underneath it, composted leaves, and threw that down over the existing dirt. And then we threw down about, depending on where you're standing, 12 to 18 inches of wood chips.
Okay.
And that's actually breaking down really nicely. So we're going to work on that before we really plant it up. It's not a huge space, but it's enough to get a few more trees in, and definitely a lot of other types of small berries. So we're trying to do that over in that area.
Cool.
This fall, we'll plant a couple more pawpaw trees, and then see what happens from that point as well.
Cool.
You got a bunch of natives in here, some red twigs, some mounting chokeberries, some gray owl junipers, some chokeberries, some sensitive ferns.
Philadelphia Union.
Oh yeah, the U. O is somewhere. Father Gia is absolutely beautiful bush, flower, plant. Gets a nice little white orb. Do have a couple non-natives in there that my parents gave me. I wanted to throw them in there.
Yeah, I really like the mulch. What's the story with that?
This mulch is long leaf pine straw mulch from North Carolina. And there's a lady that I know who owns this company called Mid-Atlantic Pine Mulch. Awesome family-owned business, really great people. And I linked up with her, and she delivered, I don't know, about 35 bales of the straw. And we actually have underneath it, we put a ton of wood chips again. Because you can see, like, look at all the moisture retaining. Like, this is, I know it just rained, but I mean, this goes all the way down. This is about 8 inches here, and this is moist. And that's great because I don't have to sit here and water it all day long. I water it once in a while, and this is an absolutely brand new planted bed, year 1. So you would think you'd have to water it every week, but I'm just not doing that because we have it covered so densely. They bring it up from North Carolina. It looks good. It does a great job. We definitely feel that having the wood chips underneath play a large part in really solidifying that moisture.
Gotcha. What's in here?
We started this garden. This is the first year of the garden. Just a regular, traditional raised bed garden. And we got the usual suspects, the tomatoes and the zucchini and the melons and stuff like that. We're growing a little bit of corn. My primary focus is in this area is more on these berries right here. And we put in 4 blueberry bushes that we got from Backyard Berry Plants in Indiana. It's an organic farm. Keith is the guy who owns it. He's an awesome dude. He helps guide us with this. I bought from him maybe like 15 years ago at the old property. And then when we came over here, we wanted to do the same thing. So we got a few more. They're all organic. They'll bloom at different parts of the year as well. They're not going to bloom all at the same time. They're not going to fruit at the same time. So we'll have berries going most of the summer. This is year 1, so I'm not really too concerned with the berries. Kind of letting them be. We'll have to enclose it from the birds eventually. But year 1, I'm just going to let them do it at once. If birds want to come and take it, they can take it. We planted up some strawberries back in here, some bare root. This is the first time I've ever done bare root. So they're doing really well. They're starting to, they flowered and now they're starting to fruit down in here. So I believe this is an Albion. It's like an everbearing strawberry, and the other are the Seascape, and they're everbearing. So I think they'll fruit really hard in the beginning and then slow down and then fruit again at the end of the growing season. But we use regular straw in here and put a nice concoction of soil and compost in this area in here. And again, it just rained yesterday, but it's really nice moisture. We're also running drip tubes underneath here for the summer, and so we usually generally end up right in there.
Oh, nice.
So they run in, they have the little openings where it dumps a little bit of water out and keeps the plants nourished, which was, I don't know, it's kind of key when property's big.
Right.
You can't always get to it.
Gotcha.
So let's go into the trail area.
All right.
Come on up this way. There's a groundhog. All right, guys, so welcome to the Meditative Trail. This is just a little journey through our little neck. We started adding a bunch of natives in here. There's a bunch of invasives in here that we got to get rid of at some point, or maybe let go. I don't know what we'll do with it, but we started planting up in little areas in here, along with some of the other cool plants that are already in here. Some native mayberries. I think they're done flowering. We got some Solomon seal over here, as well as some more ostrich ferns.
Sweet. Yeah, this is really nice back in here. Really secluded.
Yeah. This is one of the things that Kimberly and I did during lockdown. We would come out here and kind of dump all these wood chips along the trail and try and clear the trail. Starting a new section over in here of some stuff that we planted in, some Christmas ferns, some black cohosh we have in here, as well as some Virginia bluebells. So next spring, this little area here will come alive a little bit more. I got to try and not let these things swallow up everything, but they're good for now. They're playing a part.
I guess like in traditional gardening, would like a lot of people not want sort of a lot of these species here, but you're sort of keeping them?
I guess, yeah. I think that it depends on, I don't know, what your circle is. And a lot of this stuff in here, from what I understand, comes from the lady next door. She said she planted it over there a bunch of years back and it just spread.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It gets this really nice purple flower that populates all over the place, but you can see how like invasive it is. And it doesn't allow other things to kind of grow. It just sort of takes over. I don't even know the name of it, but it's pretty. I like it. I'm not going to sit and dig everything up and try and control what nature's sort of already displaced itself doing. So I'm just going to kind of let it go. So I guess it just depends on, how much of how deep you're into it or not. I think it would take forever to clear out all the invasives, but certain ones I will try and get rid of. This stuff, I'm going to let go. I think it's pretty. Add some nice color to the springtime.
Yeah, I guess it kind of is like you're kind of just letting nature sort of determine the design or the overall kind of structure of the acre.
Absolutely, yeah. We all know we can't control what it wants to do. So this area here is really interesting. Last year, you can see that down in this area there's this giant tree. That was probably a 100-foot tree that a very violent 10-minute storm came through and knocked it down. And that thing took down probably 3 other 75-foot trees. So this is actually a whole new, I guess, ball game for all these plants down here. This was completely shaded for as long as can be. And with those 4 trees falling down, it opened up a lot of air and sunlight. So I imagine this is going to be changing in the next couple of years. I did on the hilltop over here start to plant some other plants that would eventually grow up and create some shade. And I selected like a New Jersey scrub. It's a pine. It's not the most attractive, but I like it. I think it's attractive. But it's going to grow up. It's going to start to shade this area, and it'll eventually get back to what it's supposed to be. But yeah, it was. I think that storm was it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's part of the cycle of things, you know.
Exactly.
Knock trees down, and then you can sort of grow something else there.
Exactly. And that stump is like, we removed all the trees, but I let the stump there. And in the back of my mind, I thought that something's going to use the stump.
Mm-hmm.
And we were walking by there, I don't know, a month and a half ago, and I was just kind of getting closer to the stump. And as I got really close to it, a bird flew out. I was like, whoa, because it startled me because I was close. So I went in and I took a little closer look, and the bird was nursing some eggs.
Yeah.
And it's just cool how nature immediately finds a way to utilize that.
Right.
So,
yeah.
you know, I left it there.
Yeah, it's, you know, a lot of people that don't sort of get into that, you know, they wouldn't recognize sort of the harmony there that can kind of come out of the destruction.
Yeah, I think you can never try and guess what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just going to kind of happen. I mean, you can make educated guesses on, well, that's shade, it's moist, and then you look at the plants in the area, but I didn't know a bird was going to go in there. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, the trail just continues in this area, and again on the sides we just kept on throwing stuff in. There's, like I said, tons of mayberry in this area. We planted, again, some more Virginia bluebells. They're not in bloom. And some more ferns in this area too. Just, my knowledge isn't like super deep on what to plant in the woodland, but you know, so I'm starting off with what I know.
Cool.
We put in an eastern pine here to kind of block off this open area. It's actually one of my favorite trees. I love the pine trees. This guy's gonna get absolutely huge one day and really spread out. It's kind of at the very north end of the property. It seems like it likes it down here. It's doing pretty well. We have some goldenrod here, solidago. A little bit that I planted. You can see how much it's already starting to spread. This guy is he's gonna bloom at the end of the summer. He's gonna get a nice yellow flower. The bush that we put in last year, it's called a Carolina Allspice. It's got a really pretty flower, very intricate. It's almost like it's talking to you, trying to express something. Thought it was a neat shape. Got a river birch over in here. And I don't know the Latin names and everything, so I'm not even gonna try. We have another river birch in here. Out in this area was our first year where I threw down just a wildflower seed mix, not really knowing much about native flowers and stuff like that. And this is what populated from it. The yellow flower is definitely a native to Pennsylvania. It's a Coreopsis, lanceolata, I believe. And then mixed in there, which through the summer will pop up, you'll see different types of colors coming up. We have some blazing stars down there. We got some Joe Pye in the middle. There's some little blue stem in the middle as well. Got some switchgrass over in this area, and you can see it's a little bit cleared out where these areas are. And then over in this area, this is the area I'm really excited about. I spent more time throwing some wood chips down and keeping the moisture, but we planted, because I'm trying to seclude this part of the trail because it's so open, and I kind of want the trail to be like you don't know it's there. So I'm trying to rebuild this area here, and I think it got lost somehow in the storm. But these things, this is some big blue stem. It's going to grow 6 to 8 feet tall. Got a little bit of a blue tint to it. It's early in the season, but this guy's gonna start to form a wall, and you can see I put one here, 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 and then 2 more up there. So they're not really too aggressive in the spreading, at least I don't think they are. But the other things that we have mixed in here are actually really exciting too. We have some New York ironweed. So this is going to complement the kind of bluish figure there, right? But at the same time, this thing's going to get 5, 6, 7 feet tall as well and have this like very vibrant purple flower. So it's really going to play off nicely in here. And then again, the whole goal was to create the barrier to make the trail a little bit more private. So we have a bunch of these. They're all over the place too. We threw this guy in last year. I can't wait till he blooms. It's called Rattlesnake Master. And it looks like it should be, you know, out in Arizona or Nevada or something like that, but it's actually a native to the Northeast. And it's going to grow up. It's going to have this flower, and it's got this like really nice white flower that it's got these sort of pins on the end. And it's really cool. I'm excited about this. This is the second year for us with this. And then we have one more over here as well. And then of course we got some Joe Pye weed. Every garden needs some Joe Pye weed. So this thing's going to get another 5, 6, 7 feet tall as well. And it's going to, again, it's going to create this. It's going to fill this in and create it. So I have a little bit of a eastern redbud here, little sapling that started growing on its own. And then we're coming to the end of the trail. Another eastern redbud. It's got kind of chopped in half by the tree that fell down, but this is what remained from it. And we have a nice little shade garden going on in here. We got some, I guess, blue wood asters and some other woody asters that are in here that'll eventually start to pop up as it gets a little bit more warmer. But
could be a nice spot for like a hammock.
Yeah, we have a bench behind you that we put in to kind of just to chill. I think the hammock comes once this privacy over here is back.
Gotcha.
Smell this.
Oh wow. What is that?
It's a spice bush. Believe it or not, the deer don't like it, but they've munched this guy. This is, you can see something's munched on top, so I'm assuming that something high got up there. So it has to be a deer, but I don't think they like it. Otherwise, much more would be chomped. But if you look around, you can see some bite marks all over the place. Looks like some ripping.
Yeah.
Would be kind of synonymous with deer. I don't think a rabbit's getting up that high, but
how much time would you say you spend, like, on an average week working on this?
Oh man, in the beginning it was constant. Now I'm checking in with it, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 hours a week. I'm not, because the whole thing is just to kind of let it go, right? You throw it in, you nurture it in the beginning, you help it get established, and then you kind of let it go. There are areas like I'm trying to control a little bit more, like that natural barrier. So I do sometimes go in there and I pull some things out that I don't want in there, because I don't want it to crowd out what's in there. But you know, I kind of let it do what it's gonna do.
Yeah.
And
I guess that was the whole point.
Yeah, kind of. Yep. And you never know. I don't know what's gonna happen. It's always changing. Nature, life's always changing. So, you know.
I guess that's kind of a more fun way to garden. You know, you might get some surprises.
Yeah, there's definitely always some surprises in here. Lots of things that grow in here. I'm like, not sure where they came from, but they're here. So, watch yourself here. I almost just tripped. But this was, so when we moved in, we had like, we had to take down 7 trees, which was painful, but they were dangerous to the house. And I knew I wanted the wood chips, so they dumped 7 trees over here. This used to go up. You can see the mark here. It used to go up all up to here, all the way out to there.
Oh, wow.
And all the way back in there. And, you know, we've used so much of it that I'm actually starting to create a crater. But if people ever wanted to learn a little bit more about the wood chips, you can see on top how it's dried out. these things, they're not going to decompose as quickly as what's under here. So you start to dig and you see it gets darker, but it gets finer and finer and finer down in here. And what ends up happening is this stuff, it breaks down so much, it creates some fungus in there that, and there's finally the ground, and look how moist that ground is. But it creates this fungus that the woody plants absolutely love. So you get worms out of it, you get all kinds of, you get all kinds of really good things. I don't know if that's the right type of worm we want, but it's here. So so this is what we're trying to do with the soil. And everything was stripped when they built the house, and there's no nutrients in the stripped land. So that's why we throw that down. And there's a big myth about throwing the wood chips down and next to the plants. And it's really, if you start to mix the wood chips into the soil, you start to get a little bit more of the nutrient robbing, the nitrogen and stuff like that. But if you're just laying this stuff on top of the soil, it's not doing much. It's not stealing anything from anybody. I think everybody's just fine with it. I've not had any plant ever, and I've been doing this for such a long time. But it's just a great way to start to build the quality of your soil back up.
Gotcha.
And that's what it's about. If you don't have the good soil, I don't know, it just makes everything way tougher.
Yeah. So where are we going next?
Okay, so that was the sort of the nature trail. We're gonna go over, check out the meadow.
House is awesome too.
What's that?
Really nice house.
Thank you.
Really fits the vibe.
Come on, the U. Okay, so we're extending the meadow, and again, like I said, we've got all native plants mixed in here. In this new extension, there's a lot of grasses. There's a bunch of broom sedge and little blue stem, and I can't remember what else, but there's I think 5 different varieties. There's a bunch of that over there as well, but more of it up in here. So this isn't going to be as dense with the colors and the flowers, where that one will probably be a little bit more. But this is going to be more brushy and more like 2 to 4 foot native grasses.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. Something about the native grasses that I absolutely love. So our property goes back to where this tree line is here. And we created this tree line over here just to sort of bring the back of the house forward a little bit and to make it a little more greener here. And this stuff's going to actually grow up eventually and start to shade this area of the house, which is great. But we added that in the first year, and we threw in a bunch of stuff, some inkberries, some verbinums, some American hollies, a couple red maples, an oak, and some eastern white pines. So, this stuff's all going to grow up, and I get it. It's a little bit too close together, but I don't know. Nature drops its seed. It's not worried about where it's going to grow. It can grow right next to something, or it can grow 20 feet from something. So I wanted to make it a little bit more dense, and that's what I'm setting out to do.
Awesome.
We'll go back down by the bottom part. Okay, cool. So down by the bottom part of the property, and watch your step coming down in here. We threw drainage actually down from the house all the way down into here, and it kind of puts the water back in there. I almost wish I didn't do that. I wish we had created some swales up in there, but it's still not too late for that. But this was in the very beginning. So watch your step right here.
Gotcha.
We haven't done much back in here at all. This is very wild. We got tons of invasive stuff now this is the kind of stuff I do want to get rid of. There's some that multiflora rosa stuff that'll just take over the whole area and just choke everything out. So we're going to eventually get to that. We did start throwing some stuff down over here. Again, when in doubt, throw some ferns, right? So some more ferns down in here in this area. And then nothing back in there. We started to bring, we planted up all these ferns over here in this shade garden area. The majority of this are natives. We do have a couple hostas that look nice, but there's not too many of them because the deer eat them. But again, we got some Solomon seal, we got some woody asters in there, we got some native geraniums out front, and we also have the native poppies out front as well. So they're really pretty early bloomers. A few more ferns over here. I think I'm just gonna fill this all up with ferns and shade-liking and loving bushes. So we'll see. It's one of my favorite trees. This is a black willow. We planted it maybe 2 years ago, so it's doing really well. Hoping that it's gonna take off in this area, and I think it does. Kind of looks like bamboo.
Huh, yeah, it's a cool looking plant.
And then over here we just have this sea of the ferns. We didn't plant any of them. We just kind of, they were here. And they go all the way back to the other side of the property. We did throw a couple trees in here to create some privacy. We threw some pine trees so we can have year-round privacy. So all up in this area here is just heavily shaded. And this is kind of like one of my favorite areas over here. We put this little kind of relaxation deck in, but we threw all these natives around it, and this is kind of going to be going on 3 years of this. So this stuff is kind of what a lot of the other stuff is going to end up looking like when it's a little bit more mature. But we've got grasses in here. We've got some mountain mint. Smell this.
Oh wow, that's good. Yeah.
Right? You can throw this in the iced tea.
Nice.
Some native honeysuckle, and then check this little flower out here. This is a little grass called blue-eye grass. It's like 12 to 18 inches, and it has this little blue flower. You can take sun or shade, but this is a kind of like a more of a sun area. It's still shaded right now, but some more blue stem, and then just kind of replicated the same exact thing over on the other side. Some more mountain mint, Coreopsis, a different breed of mountain mint in there. And then kind of follow up this way to where we started. Okay, some more gray owls, and that's it. That's Aums Acre. Thanks for the ride.
All right, thanks for having us.